Okay, I think we are live. I think we are live. Let's see. Boom. As per usual, I'm always late. And we need to place the camera a little bit differently. Like maybe like this. So, ooh, hello everyone. Yes, it would be good if you saw more than just my beautiful hair. Like this. Okay. And then we'll do like this. Is that all right? Ooh, what was going on? Nothing was going on. Nothing going on. I'm just always late with these. Is the sound okay? Hello, all good, all good. Okay, excellent. What we're going to be doing today is continuing a little bit with Bridgman's Complete Guide to Drawing from Life. Again, it's not going to be a long cast today because I, as always, have work to do on a Sunday night. So I hope that this will eventually even itself out, and I will actually be able to prepare better for these streams. But right now, it is what it is. What I promised last time was that I would be doing a few sketches with this figure once I got it working. I haven't really gotten it working yet because I'm stupid with technical stuff. But I can hold it like this and to show how you can use it. For instance, now I'm looking at the figure in as it is in the camera view, just to show it to you guys. So the reason why we made this very simple little figure is that instead of being distracted with all the different yeah, I can actually watch there instead. How practical. Instead of being distracted with all... Oh, no, I'm watching behind still. Instead of being distracted with all the small, subtle bends and twists of the body, you just get some very basic planes here. Like this. And like this, and you see very clearly where the shadow is cast. And from this little figure that we did here, we can develop the rest of the figure. So now that we know this is the shadow plane, then we can start making this figure more and more complex and adding the detail. Instead of using a regular drawing maquette, as it's called, I find this extremely wonky homebrew version more useful because it is so simple. It just describes the planes, and you have to take it from there. Okay, so with this one we can sort of see that, you know, this is a potential way he could be holding his arms. Hello everyone, where are people watching from? I like the way Kylo Ren's setup has remained. Yes, now my both of my children probably know more about YouTube than I do. So I'll listen to them. Hello, all you beautiful people. Very happy to be catching a live stream. Yeah, today is a art learning stream. So that this is what we'll be doing. Just learning how to get better at art. A lot of people from the United States today. Wandering Soul from Norway. Hello, hello. And from Florida, I guess you mean Florida, Bergen. Yeah. Okay. Denmark, Ukraine. Okay, I think I will try switching to these, both because I like switching tools and because I haven't used them a lot. Ooh. That's why they won't open properly. Okay. I haven't used them, I've only broken them. But they will also produce a much clearer line so that you can see more easily. Let us see it like this. Okay, this looks okay. Let's do one more figure. Let's try to bend him a little in let's bend him like this. Seems painful, but let's try to draw it. Where did you get the figure? I made it on the last stream, and it's extremely wonky because I haven't made a stand for it. Once I make a stand for it, it will be still kind of wonky. Still kind of wonky. And you know, let us see here that I have the right position here. So the main reason why this is useful is because it's so simplistic. And now it could be very easy to think that, you know, this is the front of the head. Actually, this is, so we should do a little face. Hello. So now you can see. Okay, let's try to find that position again. Was it something like this? Okay, try to find the position again. Yeah, we'll say it was like that. Okay. So, a little bit different. But this is all the info we need by manipulating these three masses. He's a very happy fella. By manipulating these three masses, we have all the information we need to do the rest of the body. Okay. So he is clearly either climbing a wall or pole dancing. No. And the simplicity of it is the whole point. Okay, I said I was going to keep this short, so are everyone clear about the use of this figure and why you don't need more than the three firm masses, the three constant masses of the body in order to draw the rest? Definitely pole dancing, yes. You say it's simple, but I can do that. Well, I don't mean that it's simple to do. I mean that the simplicity of the model makes it easier than if you were doing it with a more human-like model. With a more human-like model, you would easier get distracted and get lost in the details. Okay, so let's give him a rest, and let's read a little bit from the book. We'll be doing 2 chapters today, and nothing in drawing is easy. So if I say something is simple, I don't mean it's simple to execute. Drawing is hard, or at least drawing is actually incredibly easy. Drawing well is hard. And that's always going to be hard. So we had gotten to this chapter, the proportions of the human body. And we'll just read here. All the measurements of the human figure are divisions of the body into parts of given measurements. Okay? I'll get back to what that means. There are many conceptions of measuring, scientific and ideal, and they all differ. So what he's talking about here is that when we are measuring what we're drawing, what we're doing is that we are finding a unit, a little part of what we're drawing that can easily be multiplied into equal parts so that we can use whatever we see to measure. So if I'm drawing my hand, I can measure the length in fingernails. If I'm drawing my hand with holding this chalk, I could use the chalk as the measurement. But when you're drawing, you have to use a measurement in your drawing or in what you see. Thanks for being you. Thank you. Ooh, as a mathematician, I feel offended by the formulation of that sentence. Sorry. Love the model. It's way easier for me to focus on detail rather than the overall form, so it would definitely help. Yeah, go back to the past episode, see how it's made, or get the book and download the book, whatever. Watching from the Philippines. Go to bed. It's late. I'm hoping to do more Filipino mythology soon. If given proportions were used, even though these proportions were ideal average, they would result in a drawing without character. Again, to apply these so-called canons of art, the figure must be on eye level, upright and rigid. The least bending of the head or body would change the given proportions visually, though not actually. So what we're talking about here is if you have a perfectly proportionate man, so you learn that people are, let's say, 8 heads tall, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, so that would mean you have the torso here, and then you have the legs, then you have the the arms, the perfectly proportioned man, okay? That man is only perfectly proportionate as long as you are on the eye level with him. If you are below the eye level, then perspective starts getting there, and now it's no longer 8 heads tall. If you are above him, again, perspective, now he's far less than 8 heads tall. Okay? And if he bends to pick up something, then all the proportions get out of whack. Even if the legs are the same, you can't use the head to measure anymore, okay? Hello, Uncle Trash. Yes. God kväll. Okay, so one thing I've mentioned every time about this book is that the text is really hard and the art is very up and down. It's beautiful art, but it's not presented in a very pedagogic way. It's not written in a very smart way. I love the book, but it was put together in a very strange way. You can go back to the earlier episodes where I talk about that. But that's one of the reasons why it's useful to go through it and actually explain what they mean. I think it's the best anatomy learning book. It's just really weird. Okay. From an anatomical point of view, taking the skull as a unit, horizontally, the bone of the upper arm, the humerus, and we can see this here in these drawings. If we take the skull as a unit, then horizontally, the bone on the upper arm, the humerus, is about 1.5 skulls. Okay? The bone on the thumb side of the forearm, the radius, is about 1 skull length. The forearm bone on the ulna, or the little finger side, measures about 1 foot from elbow to wrist. Now he's using foot. I would guess that it should really be text. Should really be. Or maybe it should be foot. The thigh bone or the femur measures about 2 heads. The leg bone or tibia nearly 1.5 heads. The illustrations opposite show 3 different methods of measurement. One by Dr. Paul Richer, one by Dr. William Rimmer, and one by Michelangelo, not the Ninja Turtle. And we're going to see do you do the Inkblot stuff live? Yes, on Thursdays. I do the Inkblot stuff live. Okay, so let's look at these. So, interestingly, the Paul Richer figures are 7.5 heads, and the Michelangelos are 8 heads. And usually, most art styles can be divided into how many heads an average person has. So for instance, if we are, let's say, we're drawing with 7.5 heads, so I'm just going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. So that is properly superhero proportions. Okay. And if we draw the same character, but with 3 heads, then that is a more cartoony or chibi proportion. Okay? Now the thing to, and you should do this, if you put, for instance, let's say, the famous twins, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, beside each other, they are very different height and very different wideness. But Danny DeVito, in the same art style, would still be around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's say 7.5 heads for him as well. Maybe 7, but there's whether a person is very tall or very short, usually there isn't all that much difference. So I did this test with a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger and the Prime Minister of Norway at the time, Erna Solberg, and they measured. They are very different bodies, but they measured. I photoshopped the heads, boom, 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 and they measured the same. Okay. Yes, that would be 7 smaller heads. Usually, a smaller person has a proportionately smaller head, or the head is still in proportion to the rest of the body. You know, there is some difference because some people have bigger heads, some have smaller. But if you, for instance, look at some people who are born with conditions, what was previously called dwarfism and those things, often one of the things you see is that the head is disproportionately large for the body, so it doesn't really fit with our conception of how the proportions should be. So most full-grown people are roughly the same measurement of heads. There can be a little bit difference, but not that much. You would think that there would be more difference, but there isn't. Achondroplasia, perhaps. I don't have the time to look it up right now. Thank you. And if we're looking at the Michelangelo version and the Paul Richter version, both of those looks pretty good. I've seen 7 heads drawings look pretty good. If you go above 8 heads, it starts looking weird. It starts looking stretched. If you go below 7, 6 heads, it starts looking weird. But in that kind of maybe 7 to 8 is usually a realistic proportion. And it's just averages. No one looks exactly like the proportions, and there isn't any judgment of good or bad in this. It's a way of measuring bodies, and it is useful for us. And now is a chapter that is very complicated but seems easy. So have you ever seen people do like this and try to measure? Chances are they are doing it wrong. And we're going to... this is one of the few books that describes... Now there's more, but often the books describe it a little bit too... too easily. How to measure? You have to measure, first of all, with your eye, and by studying the model, judge the comparative measurements of its several masses. So the first tool you have of measuring is always the eye. If your eye says that something is wrong, but the amount of heads you've drawn or other measurement says it's right, it's probably wrong. You should trust your eye above the other measurements. Okay? Then measure mechanically. When measuring mechanically, hold your charcoal or pencil between the thumb and the fingers and use the first finger and the tip of your charcoal to mark the extremities of the measurements you are taking. So I'm going to go a little bit back there. What they're talking about here is this thing. You're holding it. This pen is really good for it because it really has some actual marks. But if you're just doing like this, do you see what the problem is? You're looking at your model, you're trying to measure it, and measure like this and like this. What's the problem? You need to hold it very straight, and you need to keep your thumb in the same place every time, right? Yes, and in addition, as it says here, your arm should be extended to its full length, and your head should so tilted that your eye is as near as possible to the shoulder of your arm if you are using this type of measurement, because here I'm getting all sorts of perspective twists. There I'm getting less perspective twists. Okay. From the model, the space registered from the first finger to the end of your charcoal or pencil may be 1 inch. But on your drawing, this measurement may possibly be 2 or more inches. So you're not going to do the sight size method, which is taking this length and transferring it directly to your paper. You're taking this length and you're taking it down to your paper and saying, this is actually this long on the drawing, or it could be this long on the drawing. Well, you're not seeing what I'm drawing. It's this long on the drawing, or it could be this long on the drawing. So you have to keep track of how you're measuring, and this is very useful when you are drawing models and when you're drawing from life. Okay, so the next part is, in other words, all your measurements are comparative, and if the head spaces 7 times into the length of the figure and registers, say, 1 inch on your charcoal or pencil, obviously the height of the 7 heads should be marked off on your drawings regardless of the size of your drawing. Which size you had in a general way predetermined and may which size you had in a general way predetermined and may be anywhere from miniature to mural. So whether you're taking a figure and drawing it small on the page or big on a mural, you're using the same measurement techniques. I see an interesting question about pen and pencil. I will answer that soon, after I go through just this last bit. The arm has its axis and its connection with the shoulder blade. The eye, being above the arm and moving forward, has an entirely different axis and radius. Arms and necks vary in length. Also, in measuring, as in target practice, it is natural for some to close the left eye, others the right, and still others to keep both eyes open. So with these varying conditions, it is difficult to set down any fixed rules for the technique of measuring. Your own physique and tendency to use one or both eyes are such an important factor. In any case, however, you must keep your eye as close as possible to the shoulder, your arm extended and completely stiff. And what he's getting at here is that when you are using this type of measurement, it's completely useless if you don't actually do it precise, because the variation of perspective from here to here is so big that if you're mixing them, then you should just do it by sight alone. Okay. So we'll take a little sidetrack to see to answer how much pressure should you put on your pen and pencil. I've recently began learning to draw and was looking for some tips. So the most I'll see if I can explain this using, let's say I'm using a pencil. Now, you will see some people using the pencil like this, holding it very loose all the way back. And this is a typical art school way of holding a pencil. And that's good. That's perfectly good. You get a freer line, you get a looser line. Now, this works better for larger drawings. Now, the writing style and the comic book style is usually holding it like this, okay? We'll get to the pressure part as well. If you look at, for instance, I can't do this, but I'll try. Eric Larson, fantastic comic book artist, he draws something like this. It's a completely weird way of holding the pencil, but it works for him. Okay, that being said, however you draw, you should hold the pencil as loosely as you can and apply as little pressure as you can. One of the reasons why we buy different types of pencil, that we buy the HB, which is very hard, or the 3B or the 6B, which is much, much softer, is to apply different levels of pressure. Because we don't want to apply too much pressure, because then the pencil breaks. And more importantly, then we get issues with our tendons. You get tendinitis here, or even up in the shoulder. Okay? So, so if you're using a mechanical pencil, usually people hold mechanical pencils down here. For me, it's natural to hold pencils in the comic book style. I have learned how to hold it longer up, but you can hold it any way you want. But if you're applying a lot of pressure down there, it's going to hurt the paper, it's going to hurt the tool, it's going to hurt your hand in the long term, okay? It's the same thing that's happening when you're trying to focus a telescope right. You move the telescope by a centimeter down on Earth, and whatever you were looking at is now miles away. Yeah, it's not quite the same, but we can actually jump to the next page, and we get the really beautiful and complex description of the problem. So here it says, on a figure, there are no marks that may be used in proving your measurements correct. Again, the model may be far above the level of the eye, causing violent perspective. Only at the eye level can the pencil be held perpendicularly. Above or below the eye level, the pencil or charcoal must take some studied and given angle, and to determine this angle accurately requires some practice. To find this angle, take a paneled wall or vertical pole, and upon it mark of 6 or 7 spaces a foot or so apart. Then seat yourself several feet away at an arm's length, and with the eye close to the shoulder, incline charcoal or pencil to register correctly each of the spaces you have marked off. As in revolver practice, you will become extremely accurate in judging the angle at which the charcoal should be held at different distances. The same method of angles may then be applied to measuring the figure. And I think maybe we should next lesson start by doing this, because I've gone through this book a lot of times. I've maybe just done that a single time, so I'm really bad at it. But I remember I was modeling for an art class, and for me as an artist, modeling, it's hard for me to shut up, but it's not my job to correct the teacher, so I didn't. But the teacher and this was a bit weird, because you're standing there naked with people around who are going to draw you, and the teacher was showing the kids, or not the kids, the young adults, how to measure, and she was standing like 2 meters from me, and she was saying like, a figure is 7 heads tall, and she measured 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and she didn't get to 7 heads, and she didn't understand why. And the reason is perspective. Every time she did this, her perspective moved. And she had been an art teacher for years. This wasn't this stuff is a little bit difficult, but it is important also to note that if you don't do this part right, then maybe you don't have to do it. And what the art is talking about here is when you're measuring like this, you hold it like that. Then when you are measuring up here, which is above eye level, then you have to start tilting it away from you so that you get the correct measuring unit. Okay? And then if you're going downwards, then you have to tilt it the other way. Otherwise, you're not going to get the correct measurements. And yeah. One of my favorite sketchbooks in Norwegian stores is that 3-pack of shitty notebooks at Coop Extra. $100 for paper to throw away. It is important to have paper to throw away. This is regular Xerox paper, which I can do like this with, because it is the absolute cheapest we could find in, like when we buy the Xerox paper, we buy these huge boxes with, I think, 2,500 sheets per box. You kind of look like a Greek god with a 9 to 5. I feel like a 9 to 5, yeah. Okay. Here are again the measurements if you're going to make one of these nice figures. Okay. And then next time we'll start with wedging, passing and locking. Popping and locking. And then we'll get to draw a lot more, okay? Did I skip any questions? Or did I skip a question that I should have skipped? Let us see. You can call me Kim. That's... Homework would just be drawing the figure and trying to use that measurement method and learning when it's useful and when it fails. I use action figures, they help. Yeah, action figures can help a lot. Again, the reason why I prefer this figure is the simplicity of it. The action figures have so much detail to get lost in, and the simplicity of the box figure is just, in my opinion, more useful. Good Lord, caught you live. Just how to say, I find you genuinely inspirational, artistically, politically, and philosophically. Kim, thank you, James. Kim, what do you think of those little wooden figures you can pose to draw? I don't like them. I don't find them useful. I find they bend all sorts of weird ways, and it's very hard to use them to measure shadow or to get accurate shadows or anything like that. So if you had a complete... I know there are some realistic action figure-like art maquettes, but I haven't used them. I would think they are more useful, but again, I think this is the most useful. It's kind of silly, but I think this one is the one you need. Probably make it better than me, but you don't need more than this. I mean, he's chilling. You can see that. Oh, now he's sitting gaming. That's my gaming position. Are the posable full hand ones useful? No, I mean, the reason why the posable full hand ones, in my opinion, are not useful is, for the first thing, this mass here, the main mass of the hand, isn't as solid as you'd think. It actually moves quite a bit. The second thing is, you have, while drawing, you always have one good hand model. So the way if you need a model for drawing hands, you sit like this. You make the hand that you want to draw, and sure, it becomes really difficult with making a fist, for instance. But then you may have a mirror, and that is a much better hand model than using a lot of money on those shitty wooden hands. Okay? I mean, what's the most challenging thing for you to draw? I mean, hands are difficult. I'm not particularly great at drawing hands. But for me, I think things like cars and skyscrapers and minimalist architecture, and I'm not good with clean lines. That's not my specialty. Okay, I'll answer a few more questions from the chat, but in the meanwhile, I have to remind people that if you want to see more of these streams and more of the streams with ink monsters and more videos and more art for free use, then please do support if you have the money. Become a member to get early access videos, get video sketches where I try out video ideas, get other stuff as a thank you for backing, either as a member or on Patreon, or go to denungeherrholm.com and buy original art or merch or t-shirts, or download my art and do whatever you want with it. Change it, print it, sell it. As long as you put my name on it, you can do whatever you want with it. And if you think that's cool, then sharing my art is also supporting me. Okay. The wooden one painted in different color, then it can help to understand what is where. Possibly. Kim and then Kim Yong-gi. The two Kims are similar artists. Yeah, I am. Oh, thank you so much, Molly, for becoming a member. Thank you so much. That really helps. I used to become obsessed with new artists I found. All the time while learning to draw, whenever I found a new artist I liked, I would copy their art. I would learn everything I could about them and just get immersed in that new artist. And with age, that has happened less and less because you get more and more set in your ways. And Kim Yong-gi is the last time I set myself down and say, "Ooh, I gotta steal his tricks," because he was utterly fantastic, and I was really heartbroken when he passed away so young. And I still have so much to learn from his approach to doing art directly with ink, which is completely different from my approach of doing art directly with ink. I too broke retro gamer here, spend last on marker pens and also with video games. Yeah. I was just going to ask you if you had a Patreon, which method gets most money to you. I think the Patreon gives more to the creator than YouTube. I think YouTube takes a 30% cut while Patreon takes a 10% cut. But from my side, the most important thing is that you do it where it's the least hassle for you. Have you seen Nerdforge on YouTube? Yeah, they are great. Martina is so creative, and I'm in awe of the stuff they do, and yeah, I wanna make something cool. I want to make my computer into something cool. They are absolutely great. Yeah. One question I have is how choose poses for the characters and how do you go about drawing that? So let's go back to this guy. And now what I need you to do is tell me a little story. What has happened to this guy today? And you decide the story. Everybody, if you can, like the person is awesome, please support. Yes, please support. If you can't, then support by using my art. You can do that for free. You can even earn money on it. And that is also super helpful. I've never been good at drawing, but this dude makes me want to try. When I get a chance, I'll sub or member or whatever it's called. Thank you so much. And when you start drawing, remember, first of all, drawing is difficult. It takes a lot of time to get good at drawing. Second, drawing is fun. If you start out trying to draw perfection, then you'll get frustrated. If you draw this guy, then you'll be happy. So start by having fun. Start by playing around. And okay. Start by playing around, and then once you've played around enough to find things you like or that interest you, start studying that. And then when you get tired of that, start playing around again. Okay, now let's say the little guy has found out his girlfriend is pregnant and he is overjoyed. Now, of course, we could do the pose where he's actually jumping for joy, which would mean, let's say here, his back is sort of bent like this. He's actually jumping for joy. Let us see if we can draw that very quickly. Sorry about... I need to plan the camera angles better for this. So he's jumping for joy. Like this. Ooh, okay. Like this. That is the jumping for joy pose. And I draw the shadows here, and then here, and here, and then the hips here, and the shadows here. Now that we have these, we can do a guy actually physically jumping for joy and waving his hands up in the air. Isn't he happy? Yay! I'm going to have a baby, he's saying. Okay? But what if he is at work? So he was sitting like this, hunched over, and he can't jump up because he's at work. He has to be respectable. He just got the text message. How would he react? Maybe he just sits himself right up, boom, and looks up like that. And then we have the shadow part here, shadow part here. We have there, and he's looking up like this. Okay, so then we have this pose, and he's so happy that he has to hold himself in on the desk. He has, okay, so that is one way of showing the happiness. And let's say he let's say he's out walking. How does he walk while what does it do with his step? Okay. Maybe like this. Maybe he gets a little skip in his step. Okay? Like a child that is skipping down the street. Or maybe he actually goes completely into himself. So he's still walking, but he's actually hunching over more and just carrying the smile in himself. Okay. Yeah, likes the stream, that helps. So the question, what do you do when you are trying to figure out poses, is that you ask yourself questions about the story, about the situation, about what's happening, and then you start acting out the things. You might, for instance, like I said, that if he was at his office, then maybe he would lean back and grab his desk. And then I can start feeling, would I do like this? I would grab the desk as widely as I could, or maybe I would go like this. So what you do when you're trying to figure out a pose is that you act out the situation, either in your head or even physically with your body or with a little toy. Yeah, it's acting. Any final questions? Yeah, there was a comment here that I find interesting. I stopped drawing after 6th grade, but I picked it up again years later and reignited my love for it, and I've been drawing every day for 2 years. That's excellent. And the way you get better at drawing is by drawing a lot. If you can, draw for hours a day. If you can't, draw for minutes a day. Okay? And most people stop drawing sometime during school. Some as early as 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade. Some as late as 6th grade. Some as late as high school. But most people stop drawing because we start thinking that drawing is like those things you get grades in. It's something you do right or you do wrong. And we don't want to do things wrong. And, there's always someone who's better at drawing, so you're doing it wrong compared to them. And therefore, many people lose their fun with drawing, and when they lose their fun with drawing, they lose their will to draw, and they stop drawing. sometimes even become jealous of those who continue drawing. Okay? Professional animators do this when they need to figure out how to draw a specific pose. They act it, film themselves, and use it as reference for their movie. It's cool to watch. It is. That's the school systems for you plebs. Don't need to draw. Yeah. So you're saying you're always going to be wrong, so don't worry about it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there are many destructive things about the school system, but just from a purely learning level, one of the most wrong things about the school system is that it usually rewards you for being right and punishes you or disrewards you for being wrong. While in actuality, school is one of the few places where you could or should be able to make mistakes with very little consequences. If you make a mistake on your third grade math test, that is very different from making a mistake on your tax returns. When you go out of school, the stakes get higher with drawing, with life, with everything. So you should actually use the school time to get good at making mistakes and fixing them, because that's going to be the most useful way of learning. But instead, we say, you're a good kid because you did it right, and you're a bad kid because you did it wrong, and that sucks. Video games teach being able to fail and learn with no real consequences. Yeah, it's not that it shouldn't have any real consequences. I guess we've seen that in a lot of video game design where they just took away the challenge, and it's a part of the reason why Dark Souls and Celeste and all these other games are having a resurgence of harder games again, is because we do need some consequences. But again, a good video game has consequences for failing, but it makes it a part of the process. I mean, you're not failing when you die in Dark Souls. You are learning how to beat whatever it is that you can't even fathom how you will ever beat it. So yeah. I got that drawing funk recently, and I only recently started getting out of it. And the most important thing to do if you are want to be an artist and you get these drawing funks, these drawing blocks, which we all get, is keep on drawing, but find something where it doesn't have to be, you don't have to like what you draw. Draw from an art book. Draw from life. Draw silly ink monsters. All of that. Now I have to end this live because I still have work to do. Thank you all for watching. It was really fun. And we will be back on Thursday with a new ink monster. Or new requests from you. And on Sunday with another lesson from Bridgman's Complete Guide to Drawing from Life. Good night, everyone.